Georgia linebacker Channing Tindall really impressed down in Mobile at the 2022 Senior Bowl. Now, Georgia's defense is going to put a lot of guys into the NFL, and the Kobe Dean and Quay Walker at linebacker 2 are going to get talked about more often, but it was Tindall at the All-Star Collegiate event. He also brings very Seahawky traits to the position. Now, you may be thinking I'm completely mad, because obviously the Seahawks have Bobby Wagner, they have Jordan Brooks, they seem to be set at linebacker. But Wagner did physically decline last year, it's an unavoidable truth, and when you look at the fact he's going to be earning over $20 million for the next season, and Seattle could save $16,600,000 against the cap with just $3,750,000 of dead money, it does warrant consideration moving on from Wagner or trying to restructure his deal. Then behind him, you have Cody Barton, whose deal expires after next year. He's had a lack of consistency, although does look better in an off-ball role, but there's still question marks about him. And then Ben Burke-Irvin, who actually outplayed Barton in the preseason of 2021, but then suffered a serious knee injury, and his contract also is up after this year. So Seattle does have a sneaky need in this one of these inside linebacker roles, and Tindall as a kind of mid-round, day 2 probably option really is that kind of guy. As we look at the film, some context for you is that day 1 was dry, day 2 of practice was wet, and then day 3 they moved indoors because of storms, which always seems to happen down in Mobile. The immediately obvious trait in Tindall's game that fits what the Seahawks want from the position is his range and speed, burst and acceleration too. This was especially obvious in the weak hook of cover 3. Now, obviously, they're running fairly basic scheme here. It's Senior Bowl practice. They're just trying to showcase the traits. Here, Tindall has a tight end, easily able to turn and run with that, roboting the route as it bends back across the field, and you can see from the end zone angle how he's right in the hip pocket. There's no real window for the throw. Again, this is something, we've seen Jordan Brooks do. Bobby Wagner, when he was a bit younger, was able to do this with ease. Only so many people can do this at the linebacker position, and it's a very important part of cover 3. Next, we have an absolutely crazy play from Tindall, where he gets split play action in the backfield. He actually keys it quicker than the rest of the second level, and then he's able to show off just how fast he is. This isn't really an intermediate crosser. Like, this route is breaking at nearly 15 yards of depth, but Tindall just turns and runs, finds the route, understanding that's what's coming off this kind of bootleg action, this slide concept, and he removes that option from the play. And again, from the end zone angle, you can see there's nothing doing here for the quarterback. Once more, this is kind of rare stuff for the linebacker position to be this capable with movement skills. Versus this screen, I was getting out of my chair because I just didn't understand what was happening. I was sort of seeing the screen play and I was like, oh, well, Tindall's not really involved here. And then lo and behold, he almost ends up making a play on the football. There's no shot that a player should be able to get from where he is to the perimeter screen. But with the tip, he actually almost makes a play. And again, it's that sideline-to-sideline ability. I think that's kind of an overused term, but Tindall legit brings that to the linebacker role. Like, look, he's on the far college hash, and he almost gets all the way to the football, which is past the other college hash. And it's not like the throw took long. It was a quick throw. So this is just a super vanilla weak hook drop from Tindall again. He gets running back screen away, which he's slow to sort of see. But once he sees it, he puts his foot on the ground and he beats various defensive linemen there. It's to the field, to the roomier side, but he still manages to beat the 3 technique down at the line of scrimmage to the football. The game is becoming far more sideline to sideline, more to the perimeter, quick throws and spread out, and Tindall does answer that time and time again. Here's a day 3 clip of him once more in that away from the play zone. This time it's a red zone curl of cover 2, but the ball's thrown to the running back in the flat away from him, and he manages to get all the way to the. I mean, you just see the way that he can run. He can just flat out run, and he would be in a position here to somehow make a touchdown saving tackle if it had broke. The linebackers at the combine, Tindall has been invited. They test and go through all the running and all that stuff on Saturday. Chances are he might be checking this video out after Tindall runs a blistering 40-yard dash time. Tindall is not just all speed or all burst or all twitch. He's clearly a very intelligent player out on the field. His instincts for the position, they they do aid his reactionary athleticism. They also aid his overall game. This clip here is a run skelly, so they do know it's run, so he's not triggering this hard necessarily if it's a full game or a full scrimmage. However, the way he runs through, once the fullback has shown him where the ball's going in this two-back run fit where he is that spill/run through player with the way the defense is lined up, it showcases how quickly he can trigger down and fit and get these run throughs into the backfield, exactly how the Seahawks would like, exactly how most NFL teams would like. This is inside-out, blistering pace, and the offensive line certainly doesn't expect it. This is beautiful in-play adjustment to a run from Tindall versus a 12 personnel duo/gap style presentation to start with. He sees the double team on his nose tackle, so he steps downhill into his A-gap. But with the nose getting kind of pushed into his initial A-gap, he's initially starts to think about filling the other A, and as that happens, the misdirection handoff presents itself. Rather than running himself into the block, Tindall is able to overlap the linebacker next to him and get to the football outside. He also employs a nice swipe move to keep himself clean to the football, and don't worry about the contact because it's just thud. This is keeping himself clean, processing the run, and finding the football. This is the kind of rapid scraping that his sort of style of game, his processing brings. And it's a common gap kind of scheme that is really sort of taking the NFL over as a change-up run or even as a staple to a lot of the rushing attacks. Here we have a similar style run concept. Once more, Tindall isn't afraid to seek out the football once he sees the mixed direction handoff. This time finds a way to run through on the play. And okay, you'd like him to finish a bit better, but the fact that he's just taking the shot, isn't afraid to pull his trigger based off his quick instincts is a real positive. Once more, he sees that downhill initial path, the double on the nose, he comes down into the A-gap, then he sees the kind of misdirection handoff, he scrapes through this time, going front side on the run through, and is right in the backfield disrupting. Here we have a two-back fit with bend action, not strong action. So the fullback goes across and the defense kind of flow fitting here. Tindall steps with the back and the immediate action, sees the double team, kind of hides behind his nose, which is what the best linebackers do, stay clean. He then rocks back to the football as is required, makes a hit in where his assignment should be. A big thing is that he's not flying downhill here. You don't want to run yourself out of the play. Most NFL teams are having their second level linebackers stay patient, hold their depth until the ball really does declare and then come and make the tackle, using the defensive line to keep the second level clean. And that's exactly what the Seahawks do. This is just a great example of Tindall actually being a lot faster, both mentally and physically, than some of his Senior Bowl teammates. Really, this isn't the kind of play for him to make. On a whiteboard, you wouldn't have him making this play. However, it's the Senior Bowl he's trying to show out, and here he does. The wing to his side go across the formation, creating an extra gap, so he falls back. It's a really muddy picture there in the middle of the fit, so he just keeps falling back with this wing, and he manages to get there before the wing actually reaches the end man line of scrimmage area, and before 33, who was aligned actually closer to this kind of deal, can reach it. The result is Tindall ducking around the block and making a hit on the ball carrier. So let's get to the sort of element with Tindall, which will see him become a day 2 kind of pick. I don't think he'll be a day 3, but if he is, here's why. He weighed in at the Senior Bowl at 223 pounds, which is obviously a bit lighter than linebackers usually are, what teams are looking for from the position. Now, the game is moving towards this lighter style of linebacker. For instance, Jordan Brooks said last year how he's looking to get down into the 230s so he can run more, and he was sort of expecting the NFL to require a bit more power, but instead the speed element is more necessary. I still think if Tindall can get up into the 230s, he'll still be able to fly. And again, this may be closer to his playing weight at the combine. Chances are he might weigh in a bit heavier. They'll be downing all of their water, won't they, trying to get as much weight on as possible. We've already seen how Tindall's instincts can help him in terms of a weight perspective. His speed can help him too, but also his block avoidance will be a real key trait if he's going to survive in the league. And he managed to flash glimpses of how he avoids blocks, not just from running through, but also being crafty and and protecting himself from them. Here, the centre looks to chip the 3-tech before climbing up to Tindall. He simply is able to dip around the centre as he comes towards him. He goes front side on it, not taking the path of least resistance, which would be backdooring it. You want to go over the top of these kind of blocks, and it gets the job done. He stays clean. Yeah, it's a bit wide. You'd like to see him dip and rip a bit more. That's something he can work on. As I said, Tindall's speed does give him power. When an offensive line is still trying to run their zone track and Tindall's already pulled his trigger and is going downhill, that speed does convert to power. Here, the backside 3 technique tries to take the backdoor approach on this run, which leaves Tindall open to the guard climbing towards him. Because he's triggered so fast against the 2-back run, because of his instincts, because of his speed, he's able to get some serious velocity into this play. And then his pad level's good, which knocks back the guard, really causes the guard to basically be stoned. Again, it's a way of taking on the block that shrinks that kind of gap. This is another example against a power concept where Tindall sees the guard pull, keys it quickly, comes downhill fast, knocks back the guard nice and thick, and actually ends up pancaking him. But it's not like Tindall's taking this on real wide. This is a nice and thick hit, which, again, it translates perfectly to the kind of turn-back play that Seattle coaches as a core fit in most of their defenses. The front-side lever who has to fit the play outside in and turn back certain blocks. Tindall's shock move is sort of on the edge of everything. You can see, he would benefit from some extra pounds, no doubt. The centre manages to get free of the nose tackle here, and Tindall running to the ball bumps into him. Because it's sort of an unexpected angle for both of the players, you can kind of see how Tindall doesn't get the same pop into the hit. So his strength at the point of attack and his sort of ability to anchor, it's not going to blow you away. It will be a question mark. And like I said, that's sort of why he's going to be in this kind of day 2 range. Here he is trying to squeeze through 2 blocks. You could see him in a world where he gets buffeted round a bit. This is him getting moved a bit more than you'd like, running through towards the end of the play after the initial shock. Here he gets pancaked eventually by a ceiling tackle and a power kind of concept. He just can't quite get rid of the block. And that also somewhat speaks to his arm length, which is 32 3/8 of an inch. In an ideal world, teams are looking for that to be 33 inches or longer. Seattle has differentiated from that a bit more in recent years, but generally speaking, ideal world, they'd like that. I'm repeating myself here. That's why Tindall's going to be, a day 2 pick and an exciting one at that. I definitely think Tindall's best sort of role is in that off-ball kind of deal, really kind of as a Seattle weak side linebacker. If you think of their traditional 4-3 looks where that weak side linebacker plays out in space and is off the ball. He did show some stuff as a blitzer though down at the line of scrimmage. He was able to bend through some contact and bend the edge a bit. I think really it spoke to poor tight end pass protection, but his speed is obviously going to be a threat. So there's odd situations where he can blitz. He also showed some semblance of a rush plan against running backs, which had varying degrees of success. His best battle was up against Brian Robinson, where he got absolutely cracked to start with, and then sort of won it back again with some nice handwork, some footwork to set him up. If you give him the option to be like a true 2-way go kind of player, I think that's where you can get something out of him as a blitzer with his athleticism, and obviously that he's clearly trying to add some moves in and some handwork. However, if you're asking him to rush just one way or be like a peel blitzer where it's just you've got to maintain outside leverage on the player you're blitzing, then I don't think you get as much out of him, and then it's sort of like, well, let's send a different player at the quarterback. Now, Seattle generally isn't going to look at linebackers' pass coverage. They'll teach him the zone drops. They'll more look for how the guy looks in space and if he's a comfortable mover. And we've already seen that from Tindall. He did also get, one-on-one work, and this is really catered towards the offense. He struggled in these kind of man-to-man assignments, but obviously the athleticism is there. It's difficult when you don't have coverage help, but he's in phase on most of these plays, so I guess that's what you want. His feet really, at the break point, kind of went dead, which is exactly what the offense is trying to do. They're trying to get you to stop your feet so that you're not able to get out of the cut, and that did happen. The main things to focus on are the fact that he was still in phase, he still had the burst, he's playing with mainly with that inside leverage, so trying to pitch his tent just needs a bit more sharpening. What I did like in man was the when they got into more coverage help, and they got out of these one-on-one scenarios, and you saw the intelligence of Tindall. His experience in a Kirby Smart defense obviously taught him a lot about the game. Here you see Tindall try to pass off his shallow crossing route and become the new rat, recognizing that he's getting a mesh concept. It's the Senior Bowl. You're not going to get those more detailed concepts, and that's not even that detailed. That's a very basic man coverage assignment, but it's just that recognition and him trying to do that, which is noticeable. What makes Tindall so hard to quit, though, is that speed, how that mixes in with range and how it blends with his instincts to make him a very exciting linebacker prospect and someone the Seahawks will definitely be considering. It would represent real value given, the limitations that exist, which will keep him out of the very highest of picks, but shouldn't rule him out having a successful NFL career. I'd be remiss not to mention his special teams ability as well. I believe in the game he got praised for his punt coverage and some weird comparison to, I think it was Patrick Willis. If you just search Tindall's name on Twitter, there's all kinds of crazy from Georgia as well. It's not just the Senior Bowl, where you see him playing in a more advanced defense and just running and hitting. Thanks for watching this video breakdown. I'm sorry that it's been a while since I last posted a video. I've managed to get my software kind of upgraded in a way that should make it more feasible for me to upload more regularly now. I appreciate you sticking around, and please do like, share, retweet this if you're on Twitter, and follow me at Matty F. Brown. Thank you.